time's a little wonky, so we're supposed to take a break at 8:35, but we're not. We're going to push it to 8:40 because I don't want to jump straight back into a break, but we're going to have to borrow from Peter to pay Paul on our time here. Mm-hmm. Let's jump into the Goon Squad.
Okay.
All right, you've read it. I hadn't. Tell us what's going on.
This morning,
hold on. Yep. And just so y'all know, it's not because I wasn't being professional. It came out at 4 o'clock this morning.
Yeah.
And I didn't get up till 5:30. So Sean was awake. He took the assignment to read it.
Yes, I'm the crazy person that wakes up at 4 in the morning. So the New York Times and Mississippi Today, you guys can look at it on there, dropped an article with Jerry Mitchell and Nate Rosenfeld and Brian Howie, who have been the ones writing these articles about the Goon Squad over the course of the last year. And this one involves a WhatsApp that was, I think it was entitled the you know how you can group name your WhatsApp groups, and it was called the Goon Squad or Goon Squad, something like that. And it generally just mentions things that these guys have said in this group chat it was all the members of the Goon Squad were part of the WhatsApp group, and then others also, not just the ones that we know about. Now and I'm not going to name names, but you can, if you want to read it, it's in there. And they were talking about doing things to people, like, they were sending pictures of dead bodies to each other, and they were joking about, tasing people in the anus, and they just general sexual references, and a lot of stuff like that. Things that they'd they did a point system for arrests that they had, and did you get more points if you kill someone? Now, of course, none of these things were substantiated in terms of did they actually do these things. A lot of it, the way I took it, a lot of it is it's off-color jokes a lot. Bravado. Yeah. I mean, and when you're in that world, I was in the world of, the DA's office, and I can tell you, I made a lot of jokes, and you can know my personality, a lot of jokes about, dead bodies, autopsy photos.
I was going to say, you got to get numb to seeing dead bodies.
You do. You see the worst things ever. Yeah, exactly, Clay. I mean, you got to get, I've got ER doctor friends that kind of do the same thing. So I kind of see where this is, just kind of reading it from through those lens. I know, just you're in that world, and so you make jokes. Now, the thing with the Goon Squad is that there's a lot of things they actually did that were in relation to this, so that makes it kind of worse because they were, joking about stuff and here and they and then I think one thing they actually had a video of which this is not good. They some suspect they defecated in their bed, so, and they had a video of it, and they put that through the chat.
The suspect defecated in their bed?
No, excuse me, the deputy.
One of the deputies defecated in the suspect's bed?
Yeah, and they had a video of it.
Man, that's just weird.
That is weird.
There's just some weird stuff that I just don't think, and I always try to give cops the benefit of the doubt. But there's just some weird stuff. I hope your kids are out of the cars this morning. You got a 5-second warning here. I'm going to say something sexually explicit. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The dildos.
Yeah.
That's weird, man.
It's so weird. It's so weird. And about Denman, wasn't he trying to hump one guy or something? And
yeah, some inappropriate stuff on the side of the road.
Yeah.
We'll just say that. I think maybe something Eli Manning got accused of doing to somebody that was drunk and passed out in Ole Miss his freshman year. Something about teas and bags of teas or
teabagging.
I was trying not to say it like that.
Okay. Yeah, gotcha.
Thanks, Sean.
You're welcome. Yeah, I mean, it is strange that they had this kind of weird sexual behavior, and then also now with defecating in the bed and doing, I don't know what the purpose of all that was.
Satanism, not satanic, sadistics.
BDSM. BDSM a little bit, or sadist or something.
Sadist, that's what I'm trying to say.
Something like that. I mean, it's just strange. They also, they said they talked about, they discussed taking nude pictures of the women they arrested, and if they actually did that, that's pretty horrible if they made some woman undress and take a photograph of her.
Here's the thing, and you said it, but I just want to elaborate on it. Where they lose the benefit of the doubt is the stuff they've pled guilty to is so horrendous. The melting of a nutcracker on somebody's inner thigh. Yeah. Just all the weird obsession they had with torturing people with food. Mm-hmm. And that's just some of the other, we could go on and on and on. Shooting a guy in the mouth, tasers and
the whipped cream. Didn't they put whipped cream all over them too at one point?
Yeah, just food torture.
Torture food, yeah. I mean, just strange stuff. I mean, I guess there's a difference. If the story was, well, the Goon Squad just whipped that dude too much. Some dude. I'm not saying the ones they did. And that was it. Yeah, you were like, okay, that's bad. But then you add all this other stuff on top of it, and you're like, okay, this is bad and very weird. Like, should you guys have had been psychologically evaluated before you became police officers? Like, there was just like, you're not just like, okay, like, yeah, we were talking about this a lot of times. The cops go out, stuff get a little rough. It happens. You know what I mean? But you do that, and I'm not talking about shooting the guy in the mouth. I'm just talking like there's some guy you rough him up, whatever.
I tell the story all the time. I got roughed up once or twice, and it changed my life.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. And
for the better.
But I mean, if they roughed you up and then like took a birthday cake and smashed it in your face, it'd be a little odd, right? Like that's what I'm saying. Like why this next step is like a humiliation thing for them, or
a humiliation ritual?
Yeah, it's just
well, maybe it's because they were keeping points, and if you were able to introduce food to the equation, you got more points. And I guess my next question would be, was anybody tracking these points? And what did the winner get? How often did they redeem their prize?
Yeah, I think they got. I think they were. I don't know about that. I mean, they were. They set up a point system. Like, was the dildo like 3 points though? That's my question. Like, if it's like, is there like a tier? Like, you beat them up 1 point, food, and then the dildo thing. And the Nutcracker was like 4 points. So maybe that's how they did it. I don't know. But then they talked about like, killing somebody and burning them up and putting it on the, burn them up in their car and putting it on one of the guys' land. I think it was Middleton's land they were talking about putting it out there. So just weird stuff.
So what do you take from it?
That these guys are sociopaths. I mean, that's the only thing I could, and not all. I don't know that there was other people in the group when I'm reading the article that were just making off-color. They interviewed them, and I kind of like that's where I'm going to give some sympathy here. Where my sympathy was to those guys that were just like have not been accused of doing anything illegal.
Just kind of roped in the locker room talk.
Yeah, they're roped in the locker room talk, man. Like any one of us could be. Like that is totally something that happens. So those guys, I feel, have some sympathy for if they were not involved in anything, like these other guys. But there's not been any accusations, so I don't know that they have.
Well, it's like all the other guys that got named in some of that other reporting that Jerry and them did, where like more names were released as far as like people who were associated with different cases. Like, yeah, it's one thing to be associated with a case because you could have been there, and that happens.
Yeah, but
that doesn't mean you were there for the torture or that you co-signed on any of that.
Right, exactly. And it's just like here, there may be some guys in the WhatsApp group that are just talking and they didn't really do anything. And then, of course, there's the ones in the group like Middleton and Dedman. They were. We know that. They did make a reference to Brian Bailey in there that said something like, do you think number one would approve of the Goon Squad? And that's like in 2019. So maybe they're saying he didn't know at that time, but maybe learned later. I don't know exactly what to make of that, but that is a statement in the article.
What is your gut feeling as far as Brian's awareness after reading this?
Well,
does it change any, or is it still kind of?
There's that one statement I'm trying to find in here by Middleton that said like, what do you think number one? And they're referring number one's his badge number because he's a sheriff. He's number one, or they're referring to him as number one. I think is what it says. So I don't know. It seems like maybe at that time, he didn't know that they had called themselves the Goon Squad. So I think that's a very different thing. I mean, they may have been committing these acts and just not coined themselves the Goon Squad at that point. They just later maybe said like, okay, now we've got an official title for our messed upness. And overall, do I think he knew about it? My gut's telling me that, yeah, he knew about it. I mean, I don't see how he couldn't have.
All right, we got to take a break. Damien texted on the Guns and Gear text line. Damien, we're referencing a New York Times article that came out this morning. Sean, it should be available on Mississippi Today too as well.
It is, yeah. If you don't have a subscription to New York Times, it is on the Mississippi Today as well.
Is it MississippiToday.org or .com?
.org.
MississippiToday.org and New York Times, NYTimes.com. We'll be right back on the Clay Edwards Show. Welcome back into the Clay Edwards Show. Real quick, guys, Foremost Foundations and Construction. For foundations, Foremost uses innovative polyfoam technology that, with great precision, can correct and restore sinking concrete quickly. They provide solutions for the long term that can improve the ability of the actual soil to support the foundation or concrete slabs. Thanks to their specially designed rigs, they can drill and lift without the need for heavy excavation, and guys, you know that equals money saved. The team has decades worth of experience. They've tried all the old tricks, they know what works, and they have weeded out the ways which do not. Experts in foundation repair, polyfoam, drainage, seawalls, and retaining walls. Foremost Foundations with an S. ForemostFoundations.com. And guys, don't forget, today and tomorrow are your last days to get your order in for Stonington Farm grass-fed, grass-finished beef. They'll be coming up here to Central Mississippi Friday with your deliveries. Check them out online today. Stonington with 2 N's, StoningtonFarm.com. Sean, you said you wanted to clear something up?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry. To clarify, the question he asked is did Brian Bailey know about this, and would this indicate this article? And I think it does, actually, where I got confused, and I had somebody that actually cleared it up for me a little bit. The way it's worded is not great. And here it says, in 2020, deputies exchanged messages about creating a challenge coin, a commemorative token commonly shared by members of a particular unit in the military or law enforcement. Lieutenant Middleton initially suggested that their coin feature images of a noose and Confederate flag. They discussed how Sheriff Bailey would react, referring to him by his badge number 1. I'm not sure how number 1 will feel about the Goon Squad. Middleton wrote, well, what he meant to say was coin, Goon Squad coin. Apparently he knew, like they're indicating he knew about the Goon Squad. He just didn't know about this coin. So and they're saying that they didn't think he would approve of the noose and the Confederate flag on the coin. So that's what they're referring to, like how he would feel about the Goon Squad coin. So it's indicating to me that he knew about the Goon Squad. He just they hadn't run the coin by him yet.
So were they being sarcastic about a noose and a Confederate flag? Because surely, goes back to the benefit of the doubt thing here. Surely they weren't that unself-aware that that's a terrible idea.
I think Middleton seemed to me, it's what I'm reading here, just based on what I'm reading, that he wanted to do that, but I guess Bailey, to his credit, they didn't think Bailey would be cool with that. Bailey's like, wait, it's a little too far. Maybe we don't need the noose and the Confederate flag. So, so Middleton seems like he's all into it. Like, let's put the noose and the Confederate flag on there. But even Sheriff Bailey they thought he would have been like, nah, that ain't cool.
I want to, I'm not saying I'm right here. I'm saying I want to believe that was facetious and being taken out of context, because there's, of course, based on their actions, it's hard to argue otherwise.
Right.
But my goodness, to think that would be acceptable in any form, fashion, or way, especially in this day and age. Maybe I'll give you the Confederate flag.
Yeah.
But the noose and that, bro, look, I can argue anything out of being racism in the world. You can't argue that.
No, when you put a noose and Confederate flag, I think it's pretty obvious what that indicates. What you're trying to put, like you're talking about black people right there. That's what you're doing with the noose, and that's historically what it's linked to in the Confederate flag. Yeah, so I think
we all know that when you link the two together.
Yeah.
Now, if you want your rebel flag, by all means, fly your rebel flag. Heritage, whatever you want to call it. That's not my argument. Mm-hmm. But when you mix in the noose and that, you've eliminated any gray area.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I think if they just said we want the Confederate flag on the back and their, Southern pride, I would feel. I think I'd feel like that. I'd be like, okay, well, whatever you want. But
I still think you lack self-awareness in this modern age. Mm-hmm. But whatever, teach their own.
Yeah. I wouldn't suggest putting it on there, but I don't think it means the same when you put both of them together and you're saying Confederate flag and noose. And I do think it's interesting how they didn't think Bailey would approve of that on the coin, which also, like I said, which is, okay, good on Bailey that he wouldn't approve that, but he approved of the Goon Squad because, like, if they're going to show him a coin that they're making, that indicates that he knew of their existence. Because if that's something they're going to run by him, a coin.
Let's take a call real quick on the Mazda Jackson phone line. Hey, caller, you're on the air. You got about 60 seconds.
Hey, real quick, I was just curious. So what's the positive, aspect or symbol of the Confederate flag? Apparently I'm missing something.
In what context?
And the fact that it's defendable, and just the fact of for everything that the Confederates stood for, what you said, a rebel flag, what is that? I don't know what that is. I'm curious.
Oh, I've always called it the rebel flag more so than the Confederate. I'll answer that. Thanks, brother. Look, I'm not going to. One of them arguments where one side firmly believes it only means racism, and another side firmly thinks it just means Dixie, the Old South. And a lot of the Old South to people ain't just about racism. It's just it's their history. It's what they grew up. I mean, the Ole Miss Rebels were the Rebels forever. I mean, that's why I never really cared for it myself, because I never liked Ole Miss, and I associated it with being Ole Miss. I thought it was cool when it was on the hood of the Dukes of Hazzard, the roof of the Dukes of Hazzard. I mean, it was just a symbol growing up in the South, and it's now a relic of days gone by.
Yeah, I mean, I can see how both groups could take it either way. I mean, I totally see that. I mean, I can see how somebody that's, born in the South, that's like, this is part of our history, and they're into that, and not be a racist. Like, I can see that. But I can see also on the flip side how people could look at it and be like, that looks pretty racist. So, I mean, I can kind of see that.
And I just want to be honest. I mean, it's red, white, blue. It's kind of a cool looking flag if you remove all the everything out of it. I know some people have a very hard time compartmentalizing and doing stuff like that, but it kind of looks cool. I mean, I don't know, but I've never owned one. Don't have any intentions of owning one.
Me either.
But I can understand when people think, hey, I think it's a part of my heritage, and my heritage is not about racism. It's about Southern pride and Dixie and all that. And I know a lot of times people just that line between Southern heritage and racism, because they're so intertwined, people can't separate the two.
It's hard. It's just what it is. It's divisive to people, on both sides. But I think when you couple that with the noose, then you're making a statement.
You've eliminated the gray area. I'm going to close on this before we go to the break. I think they were being facetious. I do not think they were going to put a noose and a rebel flag on it with the Goon Squad and Rankin County on the other side. If they would have all been fired immediately, Goon Squad shenanigans aside, if that had gotten made. So that's what my thoughts on that. Let's take a break, come back, land the plane.